hope more of you are going to continue to be community builders too. I have great news, okay? Although I am still need to address some issues, but I do want to let you know that we do already have examples, not only Jason, but of, you know, the success, the proven success of the community, of community building in WSB. Take a look at, for example, Flushing office, right? Flushing office was able to build multiple success stories of green jackets and blazing blue, rising reds, or whatever, because of a community, building a community, not building a hierarchy, right? If you had to build Flushing from hierarchies, it would never grow, because Tiffany Key and Chloe Shu and Nansat and Wei Wei are all from different teams, right? And some of you all also plug into Flushing, and they always make your team feel part of the community. Is that true, right? What about the success of, you know, like for example, Dallas office, right? Dallas Central. Arlex has team in there. John Ortiz was able to become a green jacket because of the community that the leadership from Dui Julong and Erica Contreras, whatever, put an effort together, right? Oak Brook is also another office of so many different hierarchies. And some of us are getting together, but some of us are still isolated, or some of us are maybe together, but we're also still, we may look like a community from the outside, but what really happens inside? And I have this own experience from Gold Street. Gold Street is the mecca of multi-hierarchies, right? So many different SMDs, so many different CEOs, so many people plugging in from all over. And I will tell you that it will look like a community. Oh, so awesome, right? Lisa Octavia's here, Helen Rowan comes, Alicia Nguyen's team, Zongxi's team, whatever. But behind closed doors though, you know, maybe what you see in webinar, whatever, but at the end of the day, after webinar ends or in the meeting or whatever, right? I just witnessed it a couple days ago on Unite VPN, right? And you can ask Unite. This whole talk actually inspired by them in a not the greatest way, because I was so upset that I put in so much work to build all these things. And yet, let me ask you, WSB community, when's the last time you saw someone from Unite posting something? From Unite Gold Street? Do you know anybody? Do you know anyone outside of me that represents Unite? You could probably only name one or two, but there's tons of people that have been here for between 5 to 20 years, endless green jackets and SMDs. And so, you know, I was upset. I said, we put on conventions and, you know, workshops and PowerPoints and videos and whatever, you name it, all the tools you need. And the people closest to me in my own house don't even use the tools. And I know that if it happened in Gold Street, it happens on all of your offices, right? Who knows? Either, right? Ting Chu and Kevin Tu can come together, and Jimmy Carter, and either make something explosive working together as a community, or it could be, hey, let's get together to webinar, have a look of a big gathering, but when the webinar ends, we go off and we do our own thing. There's no Jimmy Carter office goal. Is it Ting Chu's hierarchy and then Kevin Tu's hierarchy, and then Lang Lu has to find a way to see where is he gonna fit in? Right? And again, look at Concord office. There's a whole bunch of different hierarchies together, right? From people under Lisa Octavia, under me, under Vivian Alero, whatever. And so we're trying, but it's also, you know, like I said, if we don't all understand this mindset together, it'll be very hard for us. But if we do understand it, oh my God, we will own the world. Okay? So, how do we change? You already saw this one. How do we change? We change from, not from top down, but from middle out. What does this mean? How can we rebuild companies as communities? Unfortunately, most of the hundreds of articles and books on how to manage a large-scale change focus on the leadership. And so therefore you saw Coach, right? Trying to have CEO meetings, green jacket and above meetings, and whatever, CEO retreats, all these things, because maybe it's the CEOs we got to understand, then we'll translate the message to the team. But proven articles and studies over and over and over and over shows that does not work. Or if it maybe works temporarily. So what they call middle out, not from top down, but from middle out. What that means? Perhaps it's time to rebuild companies not from top down or even from bottom up, but from middle out. Through groups of middle managers who bond together and drive key changes in the organization. So to the fault of my own as well. Okay, Coach thought that we can change maybe the leadership. I thought, hey, let's just focus on the newbies, right? Trainer Academy. How can we get all the new people come together and get focused on the cause, get immersed in the campaign, and we focus on the new people, true? But guess what? Still didn't work. Because all the people in between, right? Even though the new people might come in as a community, but if the middle people, the one leading them, the one training them, whatever, is all still have leadership or business hierarchical mindset, that's why it's broken, right? That's why not many of you exploded, only a handful. Even though you brought people to Trainer Academy over and over, whatever, but just a little bit, I personally thought if we all understood together what Trainer Academy could do, we should all be promoting 1,000 MDs a month. So, can transformation really begin like this? Almost spontaneously, with small acts of people with small acts by people who are not a part of senior leadership? Well, think of the American Revolution, which started with a tea party, or the French one, which began with the storming of a prison to release a handful of inmates. So in this book, right, this author, he wrote, look at this quote, everyone. The most sustainable improvements in community occur when citizens discover their own power to act. When citizens stop waiting for professionals or elected leadership to do something and decide they can reclaim what they have delegated to others. Imagine all managers as citizens of their corporations. In an atmosphere that promotes trust. In other words, the organization has to shed much of its individualist behavior and many of its short-term measures, right? This shift it may take you a little longer to hit your $1 million ring. It may take you a little longer to hit your CEO or whatever. But in favor of practices that promote trust, engagement, and spontaneous collaboration aimed at sustainability. So number one, who's our majority in terms of the leadership structure in WSB? The majority is not CEOs and EVCs. The majority is MDs, SMDs, associates even. Associates to SMDs, I'm calling on you. You are the majority if we're willing to acknowledge it or not. Is that right? If we have a convention of 20,000 people, how many people get to be in the green jacket CEO leadership section? Only a few hundred. How many people are brand new only in the first 30 or 60 days? A very small number. Majority of you are associates, MDs, and SMDs. You are the one that I am counting on to be the middle out. To shift your mind, break out of your hierarchical structure, and you become the owner of the citizenship of WSB Community. Sorry, I'm collecting my thoughts. But this is, yeah, as you can see, there's a lot to go over. So excuse me if I need to regroup a little bit. So what I'm just trying to say is that, you know, what has been holding us back, right, is, you know, remember Coach quote on Tuesday when he put up the most exciting part to be born is a revolution, because you get to see the old and the new and you get to look at both. But I'm going to be honest with you right now. So yes, we are part of a revolution, but this is also exactly why people have left WSB. Because when you, whatever, for whatever reason, whether it's part of your ego or for your whatever, sometimes it makes you feel better. I don't know, right? But some, you know, they can't get out of the leadership mentality. Right? And so that's why people leave, because, you know, I've talked to many leaders before. They told me they grew up in a structure where, yeah, if you didn't have numbers, if you didn't have titles, you couldn't talk or you shouldn't talk. So sometimes when we do webinar and we just, whoever wants to share, we give everybody the same 2 minutes, no matter what your title and how many days you've been part of the campaign. It sometimes rubs people the wrong way. Right? And that's why, you know, so you have to understand that they're just, you know, if you're going to be part of the campaign and kind of part of the cause, you have to put the community first. Okay? So this is a story of a gentleman that basically what happened, sorry, before I get to this, what had happened was the company went through a lot of layoffs, and all of a sudden, you know, people got restructured or whatever. And so there was all these managers that had to oversee these employees. And because there was just so much organizational change, managers were kind of left to figure it out on their own. Okay, in this corporate structure. And so this is what that person said. We stopped looking, we stopped whining about how bad things were around us and began thinking about how we could leverage our experience to make things better. Sink that in, because I'm going to call you all out right now. Okay? I am so tired of you always finding reasons, always whining, or always finding reasons why something doesn't work for you. I had to talk with Unite. I had to talk with Tony and JP's team, right? I said that I know you love me. You know, I know you love Coach. You always thank us, and I appreciate that. Please, you know that we are always humble and so love you all so much as team members. But I'm tired of the fact that, you know, I looked at all the conference call and that I don't recognize anybody on there because they cannot even post. So they want to call me, they want to call coach. Get on, can you get on my BPM? Can you talk to my team? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, thank you so much. We love you. Oh my God, that was an amazing convention, whatever. But where's your part? Associates, MDs, SMDs, and heck, I'm talking about everybody right now. We're part of a community now. I'm just saying the fastest way we can change is if the middle can change faster and see that it's you take ownership of this, not, you know, you follow because of this person, this lady, whatever. And I'm going to get to that in a second too. But we have so many things. Jason just pointed out to you so many different ways that you can contribute. Right? Yes, we have a lot of programs, GCO, Giants, Blazing Blue Shirt, whatever, right? PIN program. I always ask Unite, can you just pick one? Can you just pick, who cares? Stop telling me that I'm so confused. Which one do I focus on? Do I focus on personal? Do I focus on base? I was like, I don't care. Keon, if you love the PIN program, can you just focus on building blue, red, and green pins? Howtrend, if you love the GCO program, just focus on GCO shirt. Victor Liao, you love the Trainer Academy program, just focus on Trainer Academy. Pick something to contribute to help me and coach's voice, instead of making us always have to sell everything every single week. Because don't you see that when Victor focuses on Trainer Academy, doesn't he promote people to CEO, GCO program, Giants, and Personal Recruit anyways? Or do you see that when Jason focuses on the PIN program, he probably gets people to Blazing Blue and Rising Red anyways? So stop making it overly complicated. Or, like Jason said, if you're not good at articulating and voicing out, post something, write something. If you're not good at posting, comment, make somebody else feel good. Push a button that says like, heart. In your office, call a shot or help out. Be the person that mutes people on Zoom. Be the person that makes the slides. Be the person that collects the recognition. Pick something. Why you always have to wait for somebody else to assign you? Why don't you take ownership? You are community builder. It's your community too, okay? So a couple slides left, and then obviously we're gonna open it up. Each person is a member of the community, contributing to the mission in different ways. They might contribute time, money, attention. Some contribute more, some contribute less. So in a corporate structure, this is what they talked about. They talked about the core would be the employees. Then the evangelists are people outside of the business that are not employees, but that emphasize them, customers, and then followers. Okay, obviously does not relate to us. So can I show you my personal translation? And I'm open to it later on because this is obviously a new topic for all of us, right? So if you wanna change it or edit it later, I'm okay with that. But if your business is a community, then everybody's job, I'm sorry, I forgot to change employee. If your business is a community, then everybody's job is to build a thriving community. At the heart, at the core is us, the campaigners. But next is the financial center. Then WFG and providers, and then our clients or our prospects or whatever. Right? We have to learn about this because you know what? You know, there's a lot of successful offices like, Flushing or Dallas Central, like I mentioned, but you know what? There's a lot of offices that try, but also not lift off yet. Concord office, Greenway office, Maitland office, Rainbow Las Vegas office, Vancouver office. A lot of you with a multi-hierarchy trying to build a community, but not been able to just always get stuck in whatever, in the hierarchy game, right? So if the Greenway office does a BPM, it's like, okay, well, Steve's team will announce this for his base shop, and then Frank's team will do this for his base shop. What about as Greenway office, we're gonna do something? What about Fairview Mall office is not Liz hierarchy, but because there's other people in there, can the whole office declare something and contribute to something bigger? Is that true? Then WFG providers, this is important. Stop letting WFG and providers make you think they are here to lead us. We are the core. That's why I put us in the middle. They have to follow and be part of our community. Did you notice when it came to our convention, I did not let them go on there and talk about their products or their company. They had to come on and make a commercial for us and say, hey, I'm Transamerica, I'm nationwide, and I'm glad to be part of the National Financial Literacy Campaign. And that's why I work with companies that are willing to sit in the whole convention, whether physical or virtual, not just companies that are come in for 5 minutes before they talk and leave. Because Dolly, I cannot work with people that don't understand our community. Here we are, we talk about financial education, we talk about, financial literacy workshops, about saving your future. And if they all of a sudden come in and talk about, well, this IUL beats that other IUL because of this cap and this floor, it ruins my community. Imagine you have a house, you raise your kids, and then all of a sudden, if your sister or your brother comes in and they start teaching your kids a wholly different philosophy, you start to create some problems, don't you, in your family? So we are the core. If they want to work with us, they got to follow our community and our way. And same thing with WFG. WFG is just a platform. So in fact, I'm going to get something really extreme, but if you understand what I understand, we will totally redefine on our own terms what it means to be successful in this campaign and in this community. We're not going to be bound by leaders bulletin and points and recruits and cash flows and titles and bonuses or whatever. Because you know what, Tess? You can make 0 in WFG. You could have recruited no one, but maybe you paid off $100,000 worth of debt because of our workshop. And that to me is a huge result. Maybe, what if we create our own leaders bulletin one day and it's about how many people you help get out of debt. It's about how many people you help save for an emergency fund. It's about how many $1 million protection so that their next generation doesn't have to worry. Or how many kids you helped in school not have student loan. But it doesn't mean that also, we have to be very careful because like I said, it doesn't allow us to not perform. So campaign needs results, but we ourselves can start redefining that results. So actually, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So I'm just gonna wrap it up here, okay? Oh, this is for the CEOs, EVCs. Just enough leadership. Oh, I have some exciting news for you, okay? Liz, Helen Ruan, Karen Chin, Kevin too, I'm about to set you free. I'm gonna set you so free. If you wanted to though, okay? Some of you still want control and you still want a lot of that, then this is not the talk for you. But if you're tired like me, Liz, are you tired of your team always waiting for you?
Very tired.
Kevin, are you tired of, Kevin, you don't do enough for me. Kevin, why don't you teach me? Kevin, you like this person more than me. Are you tired of that?
Yes, I'm tired of it.
I'm tired too. That's why I yelled at Unite last week. Because I was so mad that, I was so busy putting all my heart and effort into convention, into workshops, into all these other things to help build the bigger community, and they couldn't even step up on a office level, on a small level. Does that make sense? We have hope though. You know, I watched Raquel's team. Raquel and her team is very close to what the leading the pack on what we're talking about. Not many of you knew, but when she was sick, the team didn't know exactly what's going on, but they know that she's sick. And guess what? Regina, they were current at the time when she was sick, only 1 week left of convention. They had 1,500 registrations and they heard she's sick. They said, let's come together, team. Our goal was 3,000. Let's do it for Raquel. And they called an emergency meeting. They called an execution plan. And they said, let's all monitor each other. And guess what? They hit 3,000. That's an example of what a community shift can do for all of us. It doesn't have to be rely on, you know, Liz to be in every conference call, every webinar, every whatever, and always have to say, and have to be on top of Elvie, say, Elvie, what's your number? Are you tired of that? I'm tired of that. Elvie needs to own her own number. Elvie needs to call her own shot, but Elvie also needs to be a community player. Elvie needs to be able to call Sarah Felipe or, you know, Lynn Romero, whatever, and say, hey guys, let's come together and do this for the community. Because when Elvie tries to play her own hierarchy game, that's why she's stuck. Right? So if any of you feel like me, you feel so frustrated, you feel tired, you know what, like I mentioned in the beginning, we keep wondering what's wrong, why is our recruiting down, whatever, and we keep thinking about the process. We're thinking about how to. Oh, maybe because we didn't duplicate, maybe because I'm whatever. And reality is now I realize it's because of the culture or because of the lack of community that we built.
Unite.
Told them, stop waiting for me. I'm not the only leader in here. Some of you are 20 years in this business. Why you have to wait for me? Can somebody call some emergency meeting? Can somebody say, hey, unite, let's do, you know, 1,000 recruits. So that it's not about Alicia Nguyen's hierarchy is going to do 1,000, but it's that unite can do 1,000. So that Justin Mambahi knows that every recruit he does is part of the bigger community. So that, you know, every time that, you know, let's say Lynn Tanu or Diane Chow, they know that, oh, my number is going to count for the bigger unite. And when we can do that, we become exponentially bigger and faster. Okay? So here's just enough leadership for you. Really amazing. Okay? Just enough leadership. Communityship. It's not a word in the English language, but it should be to stand between individual leadership on one side and collective citizenship on the other. In fact, I believe that we should never use the word leadership without also discussing communityship. Leaders can engage and involve others, but the concept remains focused on the individual, on a personal initiative. Show me a leader and I'll show you a bunch of followers. So like I said, I'm tired of being a leader. I don't want a lot of followers. What did you say on Tuesday, Kian? You want to be a kingmaker, not a king? Well, we're not going to do that if we keep thinking about hierarchies. We keep talking about base shops. We keep on whatever. We got to talk about communityship. Communityship certainly makes use of leadership, but not the egocentric, heroic kind that has become so prevalent in the business world. We make a great fuss these days about the evils of micromanaging, managers meddling in the affairs of their subordinates. Far more serious is macro leading, the exercise of top-down authority by out-of-touch leaders, right? Communityship requires a more modest form of leadership that might be called engaged and distributed management. A community leader is personally engaged in order to engage others. So that anyone and everyone can exercise initiative. If you doubt this can happen, take a look at companies like Wikipedia or Linux and another open source of operations work. So maybe it's time to wean ourselves from the heroic leader and recognize that usually we need just enough leadership. Leadership that intervenes when appropriate while encouraging people in the organization to get on with things. That's how IBM got into e-business. An enthusiastic programmer eventually convinced a middle manager that opportunity existed. The manager stitched together a team with almost no budget, and when the initiative finally found its way to the CEO, he encouraged it. That's all. Just enough leadership. So look, and I think Coach is probably, probably can agree with me, or he can take me back, whatever, after this. But how, as much as I know that, we really appreciate you whenever you say, we love Coach, you're a genius, whatever. But I know that also in his heart, that's not what he wants long-term. Because the more we make it about him, the less we make it about the community. And you all know for a fact that what we have today is, yes, it was led by him, just enough leadership, but it's because of, people like Noreen Pinzon willing to share her story, people like Yvonne Tran who cry and share her emotions with us, people like, Liz who show her hard work and dedication and meeting mentality for the last 20 years. It's all a community together. So we're not going to go away with leadership, but we're going to start to call ourselves communityship. There's a balance between leadership and a community. I don't want to talk about leadership by itself anymore. Right? And so this is what I was talking about. Is that how would that change how we think about profit? If we change from a business to communityship, how would that change how we think about profit? How would business structure and goals change? How would products change? Would there be as much corruption and greed? Right? That's what I was talking about earlier, is like, let's think of a whole new way to do this business. Maybe it's a different leaders bulletin. Maybe it's a different way to track results. And we're already doing that with 30 by 30, right? It's our first step by redefining what counts as a family educated, not by the laws and the history of what we came from in the past. And I'm not trying to get away with everything we did in the past. There's still a lot of great fundamentals, but we have to build on the good and shift in a new way. What can community do for my business would become, what can our business do for the community? Because your business is the community, and community to humans is life. Because as much as we want to be leaders and individualistic and have identities, whatever, but we like to belong. So perhaps the ultimate test of whether a company has become a true community is whether its people see themselves as responsible citizens of the broader community. And let me tell you something, WSB. We're already there. I'm not talking about something that we need to do. We already did it. We did it with Convention for a Cause. Right? Let me ask you, all of you on here, do you realize what the Convention for a Cause did for you and did for our community? Because Tess, for the first time, she declared numbers for her and for Ting or whatever, but guess what? I bet you she was more motivated because she saw the big community number. Oh my God, we're at 50,000. Oh my God, we're at 100,000. And it made her fight. It said, yes, I know that if I do one more registration and Clarissa does 5 more registration, if everybody does a little bit, we would hit 100,000. Is that true? Right? And all of a sudden, because she focused on the community, but yes or no, hit the biggest registration number you have ever hit in your whole career. Not because Kevin too wanted to be number 1, but because Kevin too wanted to contribute to the community cause. Right? So we already did it. You made this happen. We got these speakers because of you, right? So for the first time, Zongxi didn't say, hey, let me contribute by sharing 30 minutes by myself. Let me get you Andrew Yang. It wasn't about him. It was about the community. Is that true? Right? And look at the shift happening in all of us. All of your favorite speakers, oops. When I listen to all of you say, my favorite speaker, you guys say people like Scott Harrison. Do you realize that Scott Harrison is an organizer of a nonprofit? You just call him your favorite? You not the motivational guy with big muscles and sweat coming down his face? Do you realize you guys just said this nonprofit guy that gives water to people, not talking about the millions of dollars he made or the fancy house or cars that he has or whatever, he was the one that you guys all referenced to the most. Because of the community, you guys registered 190,000 people. Like I said, because it wasn't about, yes, you were, I'm sure eventually all of you were happy, right? Individually, your base shops hit a few hundred. We had CEOs hit a few thousand, but because you were driving because of the community, not because individual. And do you see what happens? This is the last slide. So do you see what happens when you focus on the community? For the first time, I saw all of you proudly share who you are and what you do. Hey, Dolly, did you ever post G19 Dallas, hey friends, on your social media and your Facebook, and you say, hey friends, come with me to convention? Did you ever do that?
No.
But with convention for a cause, when it was about the community, all of a sudden, I saw you guys share everywhere. Share all the posters, all the pictures, share about, charity or whatever. All of a sudden it became about community. It came about doing good things for people and it was not about recruiting. It was not about sales and all other things. But in your heart, you knew, didn't you? You knew, Tess, that as much as you register as many people for the cause, for the community, but in your heart, you knew you would win too. You knew that you can get some campaigners. You knew you can get some accounts and financially educated people. You can get some team members. So we did it already. Recognize that the moment is already here, but now is our time to see it together. And for the majority of you, the middle out. Okay? But again, now CEOs, EVCs, we have freedom, just enough leadership. Right? Step in when they need you a little bit, but remove ourselves so that they can step up, they go whatever. And finally, you and I start to do that. You start to declare they're going to do, 2,000 families helped, I think, and like 600 recruits or whatever. That's what we need to see more of. Not coming from Alicia Nguyen, but coming from, the Luan Nguyen or the Justin Mbahi or Sikander Londi. And I'm calling on all of you right now too. Right? You know what? Hey, George.
Tisha.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I said, Georgette, don't you think Victor would much rather that you call up Victor? You say, hey, Victor, I'm going to declare 20,000 registrations for you. Or you always have to wait for him. Hey, Victor, this month, let me call Mia, let me call Zenny, let me call Stella, and let's get everybody together. Let me call Chris and say, hey, this month Team Victory is going to do 2,000 recruits. Would he much rather you do that? Or it always has to be Victor to call a shot for a team? That's the difference of the community versus leadership. So anyways, I'm really excited, as you can tell. I'm pretty much taking up the whole time this morning. I'm so sorry. And I know that we're going to have to talk about this more often because you will not understand everything right away. And there's so many parts to this that it's something we have to talk about and keep on going to remind ourselves, because maybe somebody even like me will have to be reminded, Here's one last example, and I'm gonna open it up or pass it on to whoever wants to share. But even literally 10 minutes before this call, me and Jason were on the phone going through what we're going to do, and I asked Jason, but don't you want to show like your points, your recruits, or your something tangible that people can say, oh, You know, because there's going to be a lot of naysayers, right? They say, oh yeah, sure, Jason shares all the time, but where's his number? And Jason's the one that had to remind me. He said, Alicia, if I show all the things about what I do for community and at the end I show my number, it will get everybody to think that I'm only doing it so that I get something out of it. And so it brought me back to Scott Harrison's quote, since we all love talking about him, is that the more you give, the more you give. It's not about the more you give, the more you get. It's the more you give, so that the more you give, and you just give because it's come from your heart. And whatever, you know, you don't give to charity to get recognized for it. You give because you just want to help some people. You comment because you want to make somebody else feel good. You want to give a thumbs up because that new person that fought so hard to pass their test that posted on Facebook community, or you know that the brand new person that hit their 330, they had to tackle a lot of obstacles to get that. And you give because you want to give. Because you want that person to feel loved by the community and know that they have a place and that they belong. And when we build hierarchies, then that's where we create separation and we get comparison and people stop belonging. But if we build a community, that's where WSB is truly building the new industry. All right? Thank you.
Amen.
That was powerful.
Wonderful.